This shit, shit. You drop this done deal.
Bro, let them know
It's a done deal. Bro, it's a done deal.
Let them know you dropping me,
I
bro.
drop you.
No, say it,
Pooh
nigga.
Shiesty drop from 1017. Shout out. Yeah.
Real nigga ain't never did no police or none of that, bro. Tell them what's going on.
Bro, we just did that. That's done.
What you do?
You drop. You said you want to be dropped, you dropped.
It's the paper and everything.
It's done.
Big 30 got out. Pooh's dad got out. Both of them on home detention with ankle monitors, strict conditions, but free. So naturally, Pooh Shiesty's legal team filed a motion asking for the same treatment. The government responded with 65 pages of why that is not happening. This breakdown covers everything in those filings: Pooh's arguments for release, the government's response, the evidence they say they have, the prior history they laid out, and the letter that one of the victims sent directly to the judge asking him to stay locked up. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly where this case stands and why the bond picture looks the way it does. Pooh's motion opened by making the point that between his arrest on April 1st and his indictment on April 28th, he was on electronic monitoring the entire time. His location was known to law enforcement around the clock. He made every check-in, he passed every drug test, he didn't run. His team argued that this shows he's not a flight risk and that he can comply with conditions if given the opportunity. The judge originally ordered detention for 4 reasons. The weight of the evidence against him is strong, he poses a danger to the community, he's a flight risk, and no combination of release conditions can adequately protect against those concerns. Pooh's motion challenged each of those points. His team argued the kidnapping charge required the government to prove elements they hadn't fully established, that the evidence wasn't as strong as the government claimed, and that with proper conditions he could be safely released. They also claimed that the victim, Gucci Mane, had publicly recanted his account. The government's 65-page response addressed all of it, and they started by establishing something that adds significant context to this entire situation before getting to the January 10th incident itself. Pooh Shiesty leads a Memphis-based street gang called the Chopper Gang, which, according to a Memphis gang detective who has already testified in related proceedings, is connected to the Grape Street Crips and has approximately 100 or more members. The detective testified that the Chopper Gang has been known to participate in homicides, robberies, carjackings, firearm offenses, and narcotics trafficking. Pooh is identified as a co-founder. Law enforcement has had the Chopper Gang and Pooh on their radar since at least 2018. In December of 2019, Memphis police executed a search warrant at his residence and found him sitting on a loaded Glock 22 with a 50-round drum, along with marijuana and cash. In July of 2020, he was involved in an incident where fireworks were thrown at a gas station and the vehicle returned to shoot at it. In October of 2020, he drove a lime green McLaren with another Chopper Gang member to commit an armed robbery, during which he shot one victim with a Draco and his associate shot a second. The entire incident captured on video, which became the basis for the prior federal case that sent him to prison. And then in May of 2021, while out on state bond for that case, he shot a security guard at a club while being removed from the venue. That's the documented pattern the government put in front of the judge before even getting to January 10th. 2 people shot on separate occasions, all before the current charges. Now here's the detail that didn't get enough attention when the story first broke. At the time of the Dallas incident, Pooh wasn't just on regular probation or parole. He was serving the final months of a 63-month federal sentence and was required to live in Frisco, Texas under specific conditions. No firearms, no contact with people with criminal records, no alcohol or controlled substances, and mandatory approval before leaving his home. According to the government, he routinely violated those conditions, and the way he allegedly got around them is one of the wilder details in this entire filing. Investigators say Pooh was involved in an inappropriate relationship with at least one of his VA case supervisors. This employee was actively entering fake day passes into the system, official documentation that made it appear he had permission to travel to unapproved locations when he did not. On the day of the kidnapping itself, that employee entered 3 separate fake day passes and contacted Pooh 19 times over the course of the day. That person has since been terminated for this conduct. So, the defense argument that he was complying with his monitoring conditions runs directly into this. The compliance was manufactured. The passes were fraudulent. He was getting around the system with inside help, and the day that inside help was used the most was January 10th. Now, to the evidence itself, because this is where the government's response gets very specific. The filing states the evidence includes 5 cooperating victims and witnesses, cell phone location data, and surveillance video placing the co-conspirators at the scene. There is also a video, recovered from Big 30's phone, which had allegedly been damaged or destroyed in an attempt to get rid of it, that shows Gucci Mane in the recording room being forced to verbally confirm that Pooh was released from his contract. The footage, according to the filing, shows more than just the verbal declaration. It captures the conditions under which that declaration was made. The paperwork that Gucci was forced to sign was printed at a Staples by Pooh's father hours before the offense and was later recovered from his father's emails. This means the plan was documented and premeditated, not a spontaneous confrontation. Beyond that, cell phone records show Pooh used his phone to text Gucci coordinating the meeting. He also directed Big 30 to capture Gucci's verbal contract release on video, meaning the recording wasn't accidental, it was requested. And he sent a message to a Chopper Gang group chat through Signal, an encrypted app that investigators describe as a call to arms. The filing makes clear this was an organized operation, with communications documented across multiple devices. On Pooh's team's claim that Gucci recanted, the government's response was direct. They stated they are presently unaware of any statement by any victim that challenges the consistent narrative provided to law enforcement. More than that, in April of 2026, after all co-conspirators had been apprehended, investigators conducted follow-up interviews with all 5 cooperating witnesses and victims. Every one of them reaffirmed their cooperation with the prosecution. As for Gucci recanting publicly, the government doesn't need to argue it, because Gucci released a diss track after the incident, directly referencing what happened and calling out Pooh and Big 30 by name. That's not recanting, that's the opposite. The government's conclusion on danger to the community was stated plainly. Pooh has shot at least 2 people across 2 separate documented incidents. He leads a gang of roughly 100 members known for violent crimes. He allegedly resolved a business dispute by traveling across state lines with 8 people, producing a weapon, and holding 3 people against their will. The filing describes him as someone who uses deception and violence to get what he wants, and argues that no release condition can protect the community or the witnesses from what he's capable of. The last piece of the filing that landed differently was a letter submitted to the judge from one of the victims, a retired police officer who was present in the studio that day and is now one of the cooperating witnesses. He wrote directly to the judge explaining that despite being a retired law enforcement officer, something Pooh was aware of, it made no difference. He wrote that he now finds himself watching vehicles pass his home, worried that someone connected to Pooh may attempt to harm him or his family. He said he has limited his children's ability to go outside because of this fear. He asked the judge specifically to keep Pooh detained, stating that he believes it is necessary to protect his family and prevent further harm. He noted that Pooh had already been given a second chance with monitored release before and used that opportunity to allegedly commit this offense. That letter, submitted as part of the formal record, directly addresses one of the government's core arguments, that releasing Pooh creates a concrete danger to the people who are going to testify against him. Based on everything in these filings, the bond picture doesn't look good. 5 witnesses all reaffirming their accounts after follow-up interviews, video evidence, documented communications, prior history of shooting 2 people across separate incidents, a pattern of violating supervised release conditions through fraudulent means, a victim who is afraid to let his kids go outside, and a prior record that puts his sentencing exposure at a level where the guidelines alone represent decades before enhancements are even added. His team will keep fighting it. That's their job, and they should. But the government's 65-page response laid out what they're working with, and it's a lot. The next updates will come as the trial date approaches. We'll be tracking it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think there's any realistic path to bond from here? Or is this one that's going to go all the way to trial from inside? Subscribe for every update as this case develops.